Welcome back, Yelling and Screaming, brought to you by Phantom Odds. If you play fantasy sports and have always wanted to find a better way to bet against your league mates, Phantom Odds makes it easy for you to do exactly that. Sean, joining us from the East Coast. How's it going, bud?
It's going. I'm at my family's house right now, so if you guys hear some sirens in the background, just know that's just North Philly static. Um, but we got set up. I'm a few hours off, Rick, so it's a little weird here. It's 11 a.m. I'm used to doing this a lot earlier in the morning, just fresh. But I'm excited. I wanted to make sure we wanted to make sure we got this episode in for you guys, even though I'm on the road. Same thing with next week. I'll be on the road too, but I'll be back in Phoenix in a couple weeks. So just bear with me on any audio issues that you guys hear. I'm going to do my best, but I just want to make sure that we give you guys the content you need for your NFL Sunday.
That's dedication, man. That's just commitment to the cause.
Damn right. You know I love football season, so I couldn't take the week off. There's no days off. There's no weeks off. Once the season starts rolling, we keep it going, no matter what.
We got a pretty good set of games. If this is the first time you're joining us this year, we're going to run these Sunday mornings whenever we can. So we'll have the Thursday game to talk about and then be as close to kickoff as possible. We didn't want to bump right up against kickoff because you guys have real pregame shows that you want to watch. We appreciate you joining us here. We'll give you Yelling and Screaming, patented, awesome action and reaction. Let's talk Thursday's game. Packers beat the Commanders 27-18. What do you got here? This was an interesting one for me. I want to hear your thoughts before I kind of go in on the the 2-0 Packers.
For me, the name of the game is mistakes, missed opportunities, not scoring when you have the opportunity to do so. I mean, we had three missed field goals, two doinks, so that's five shots right there. I was not banking on that. I was not prepared for that on a Thursday out in Pennsylvania. But I will say that the Packers defense looked like it was able to control the game a lot better. And so far they look like the strongest team in that division. For me, Micah has absolutely just popped into that defense and really showed that he's a guy who can get pressure on a quarterback. The Commanders' offensive line just didn't know what to do with him when he rushed on the opposite of Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil is a beast on that O line, and he was able to handle Micah when he rushed off when he came off that left side. When he came off the right side, though, they couldn't handle him at all. And so I think that that's something that you look at when you do those matchups. When you're a defensive guy, you say, where can I have the most impact? And you could see that Jaden Daniels was very uncomfortable in that backfield. Honestly, I don't know what happened or why they got rid of Brian Robinson Jr. because their run game is trash. Eckler is a good pass option for a running back, but he can't carry he can't
Done
carry
for
it.
the year. Done for the year.
Done for the year. So there you go. That just makes it even worse for you. Now what are you going to do? It didn't look like they had any answers. 3 points in the first half and then scraping back in the second half. I mean, it just they couldn't get anything together. Flip side, Love honestly didn't look too bad. I think he had some missed opportunities with Golden and his young wide receivers. I think he just doesn't have the touch on their speed yet, because he had a couple of deep balls that if he can put that on the receiver, put it where the receiver can get to it, that's a touchdown. So I think that that's something that he's got to work on. I've always said that he's a guy who's still throwing off his back foot, and so he just hasn't gotten that. He just haven't gotten that refinement yet to his passing game. But I mean, at the end of the day, your team gets the win, and your run game looks beautiful. Jacobs was back there able to control. They had 145 rushing yards, so they're back to what they needed to be in that run game for this year, showing why he was one of the top 10 running backs last year. And so if you're the Packers, it's looking really good for you right now.
Yeah, they look good. I thought they played down to the Commanders a little bit. This game, I watched it all 22. I missed it live. The score wasn't really indicative of the game. This was,
Not at all.
for most of the game, an absolute ass whooping. And even the 18 points that the Commanders put up, 15 of those come really late. And the way that offense was moving when they scored in the fourth quarter, I think is what that team is capable of. But the caveat there is that the Packers were running essentially a shell prevent and just letting them move the ball to burn clock. So I'm not sure what is real and what's not with the Commanders. Daniel's final stat line looked okay. I don't think it's enough to obviously overtake the Eagles, but this was a playoff team last year without overtaking the Eagles, right? So I'm worried about the defense. I'm worried about the rushing game, as you spoke to, because, I mean, we're down to Bill, and I love Bill, but that's it. It's just Bill. They have diva wide receivers who do nothing but complain. McLaurin kind of showed us his colors this offseason, I thought, and has kind of not done anything through 2 games. So I'm a little concerned about what drives the offense. But on the other side of the ball, the Packers defense is better than people think.
It's solid. It was solid.
I really think that Parsons is going to feast on the Bears and the Vikings. McCarthy, I think, is going to get absolutely wrecked by Parsons. I think that might be like a legacy game for him. You might get McCarthy 6 times. But I say that to say that this Packers defense can make the Commanders look the way they did in this game. And it doesn't necessarily mean this Commanders team is not a playoff team. The Packers are also a playoff contender. Our buddy Don brought up the 27-year-old thing. Favre and Rodgers both won the Super Bowl at 27.
And Star, all of them, all 3. Star, yeah. All 3, dude.
Will be 27 this year. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm saying that the NFL's got a lot of those weird quirks.
They're big on superstition and statistics. They will come. There's the 2 S's, superstition and statistics. They will come up with the randomest stat. This quarterback is 5-0 in the rain on a Tuesday when his mom's birthday is the next day. Like, what kind of, they'll always pick. But this one is a pretty interesting one because the Packers lineage for quarterbacks is not one that's really, really deep. I mean, realistically, the last 30 years they've had 3 quarterbacks. That's longevity. That is trust in your organization. That's trust in who you pick and who you keep around. And so realistically, like, if you're the Packers, if you want to hold on to something, you hold on to the fact that you've got Super Bowls from 27-year-olds, and you got one coming up right now. And the defense getting better this year. The receiving core, if they can get connected with. If they can get really connected with Love and get tighter with that, obviously young guys on that core. My guy Romeo Dowd is his man. That guy right there is somebody who he trusts as a receiver, who he realizes that he needs a quick slant. He needs a guy in the slot to come up and get that reception. He's his man. And so if you're a quarterback and you feel comfortable with your receivers and all you have to do is add a touch of that long ball, when you got the speed and your guys are breaking away from these D-backs, then it's a dangerous game. And your run game is good, which means that people can't just play, they just can't go drop back in the nickel. Then you're a hard team to contend with.
It wouldn't surprise me if this game ends up being a tiebreak of some sort for playoff seeding. I think we're going to look back 15 weeks from now, and this is just a blip in week 2. One team had to win, one team had to lose. I'm not totally convinced the Commanders are as good as they are last year, but in a really weak NFC, quite frankly. Obviously got the Eagles ahead of them in the East, but I think they could probably still be a playoff team, even given what we've seen in a decent game against the Giants and a pretty poor game against the Packers.
I just think that they have to figure out the run game. Jaden Daniels can't do anything if he's a one-dimensional quarterback. Like, you have to be able to put fear in guys' eyes and say, "Hey, look, you need to. We can't just blitz everybody. We can't just drop back into coverage and blitz 4. You have to go back and forth. You have to make the defense think. If the defense gets to be one-dimensional, then because your offense is one-dimensional, then you're going to have a tough season no matter what." So.
All right. Game of the week this week. It was low-hanging fruit. We kind of had to do it. The Eagles and the Chiefs. Sean, I have heard from trusted sources that these teams are pretty good. You have any color on that?
Honestly, the Eagles week 1 really didn't have to show you much. The game was theirs to lose because the Cowboys are a travesty. They talk a tough game, but they got a Napoleon complex. They think every year that it's there, it's never going to happen. It's not happening. All right, the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since before iPads and iPhones existed. It's delusional, but the Chiefs, I also felt like didn't necessarily have to win week one either. The problem with the Chiefs is they looked bad, and injuries in places where you can't you need guys. Patrick Mahomes has showed you that in his career he's never had 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard wide receiver in the same season. But he's been able to get guys the ball, no matter who's out there on his offense. He's had a huge rotation of wide receivers, and he's been able to give them the ball. Losing Xavier Worthy on a sad play is just going to only hamper him again. You don't have Royals as well. And so you're looking, you're saying, all right, well, who's he going to throw the ball to? Then you start talking about that one-dimensional game, right? But realistically, their defense also isn't as good as it's been in previous seasons. The savior for their season last year was that even though they only scored, they may have only scored 20 points a game, they gave up 18. They gave up 17. And so their defense was able to keep them in games last season. I don't see that being the case this year. I think that their defense is going to, unfortunately, be a step behind where they were last year. And if that's the case, Mahomes is really going to have to figure out ways to be creative on the offense and get the ball down the field for some of these guys who we don't even know who they're going to be week in and week, from week to week, and figure out how to get that offense to win in the clutch when they have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, getting gashed by the Chargers on national TV when it's a real hater culture and everyone wants you to lose, that's a really tough way to start the season. But I want to take it back about 7 months. Before the Eagles had officially arrived on the scene and before we were really worried about the Chiefs and their defense, 40-22. 40-22. The Eagles are better than the Super Bowl team. The Chiefs are worse than the Super Bowl team. I don't think it's 40-22, but I could see this being 28-7. I think the Eagles win this game going away because they are better in all three phases. I do think that there is lots of fantasy value here. I like Mahomes to throw maybe 40 times, again, because there is no real rushing game. I don't know if he does much with those attempts, though. There's no way the Eagles' defensive secondary is as bad as they were against the Cowboys. That was not a great showing.
They also don't have the same talent level to fight against that they had against with those two. And don't get me wrong, the defense did not look great. Their nickel corners looked soft. Quinyon, pass interferences left and right. But I'll say right now that CD Lamb is a top wide receiver in the league, and Pickens has incredible hands. All of the mental mistakes that he made in Pittsburgh, he still was a good wide receiver. So that duo we can put in the top 5 in the NFL. I can say realistically, they're as far as talent level goes. As far as attitude, no. But as far as talent level goes, I can put them up there. The Chiefs do not have that. And so if you're the Eagles, you get to bear down. You also, I guarantee you, Jalen Carter is going to keep his mouth closed this week. So we won't have another spit gate. But I think that there's going to be a situation. I will play a little bit of devil's advocate here because I think the Eagles are not better on the defensive line. I think that they lost some key guys in that rotation with Sweat. I think that they had at least 1 or 2 injuries right now in the linebacker core. They have some retirements. And so they have a couple of guys on that defensive side outside of the secondary that have moved on from the team. And so I think that they still have one of the better rotations in there, but it's definitely not, I would say, the same caliber as last year. I think another year under DeJean with DeJean and another year with Quinyon, where they're seeing these NFL teams, is definitely going to benefit them. They're playing against a team that does not have nearly as many weapons as who else they'll see throughout the season, and so that'll be to their benefit. They have a very good pass rush, and they're playing against a Chiefs team that just looks weaker. And so, really, it's their game to lose again. They play 11-man offense. The quarterback plays the entire, he is a runner just as much as he's a passer. So that's going to be to their benefit. Saquon still, he didn't have to do too much this past week because at the end of the day, no matter what happened, you could move the ball down the field with your legs if you're Jalen Hurts. So I think that this is definitely their game to lose. The Chiefs, to me, have to prove in this game, even to make it a tight game, in my opinion, that they are a team that is still formidable. It was the Chargers game to win this past week in my opinion. I think it wasn't as
wild
indicative.
Thing to say. I agree with you.
But the Chargers have been an underperforming team for years. And so it was their team. It was their game to win. They have had so much pedigree, so many people talking about how this is their year, how they're a much stronger team than they've been in previous seasons. And so they had to come out and say, hey, look, this is our division now. The Chiefs have run this division for years. This is our division now. You're going to see a lot of teams in that AFC West starting to stamp and put their stamp on it and say, nah, this is no longer the Chiefs division. This is ours. They're going to play the Chiefs hard as hell this year, every single game. So it was the Chargers game to win. The Chiefs didn't really have to prove anything, but this week they got to prove something. You can't start the season 0-2 against playoff caliber teams and then say, well, we're in a good spot. It just doesn't work that way.
I'm concerned the Chiefs' run defense, at least on paper, is atrocious. It was real bad last year. The Chargers beat them through the air. If the Eagles come in and Saquon has 25 carries for 120 yards, would it shock you?
Not at all. Not at all.
So if the Chargers give you the blueprint for how to beat them through the air with no run game, and the Eagles are capable of showing how to beat them with potentially no pass game, there's not a team on this Chiefs schedule that can't find a way to beat the Chiefs using one of those blueprints. Now, obviously, defense factors in. You still have Mahomes. The Chiefs are going to score points. But if you are incapable of not giving up 21 points a game, it's like you spoke to earlier. They were winning games on thin margins last year with a really inept offense. I'm concerned looking at this rundown. They got the Ravens in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's going to be a tough game.
And then, even the bad teams on their schedule, Jaguars have a real running back. Raiders have a real running back. Commanders, who knows? Maybe Bill's slotted in by then. You got to play your division. JTT comes to town. I mean, if this Chiefs team can't figure out how to stop either the run or the pass, there is a lot of losable games on this schedule. And with the Chargers team, it looks really, really good. I mean, you might be sitting week 10 with the Chiefs not in playoff position.
The name of the game is going to be clock control. They can't do it if they can't keep the offense on the field. And their defense is not able to, it's just not good enough to hold up against, you're absolutely correct, against some of these offenses. The Raiders have gotten better on offense. The Chargers are better on offense. Every team in their own division is better than they were last year, on offense especially. And so they have to, they can't lose out their whole division. If they do, it's a wrap. It doesn't matter realistically, it doesn't matter what they do, in my opinion, for the rest of the NFL. If they lose out in their division, they're done for.
So who's your official pick here? Eagles and Chiefs.
Eagles minus 10 at minimum. Eagles minus 10.
Beefy points, huh?
Eagles minus 10. I mean, we just talked about how the Eagles have the ability to beat them on the ground. We didn't even talk about the fact that they also have a top tier wide receiver duo, not to mention a very capable tight end, and Dotson looking good as the third wide receiver. Like Jalen Hurts
throw a block. I was baffled. He blocked it.
Exactly. So if they can, I mean, their offense is just so high powered, and their defensive rotation, again, they can put pressure on Mahomes, and they can do it all game long. And they love to blitz. They can put pressure with their front four if they need to. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to have to figure out a way to get to manage the clock, to keep the Eagles offense off the field, because they can score quickly. They can score really quickly, and they can score in so many different ways. So I got the Eagles minus 10 on this.
Yeah, the line's been sitting 1.5. That'll probably be my spread pick of the week. Oh no, we said we were going to stay away from game of the week, so it can't be. I'm laying 1.5 everywhere. I've got some money down on it already.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, it's just not. The Eagles are better in my mind. I just don't understand. Like,
and it's a warm weather game too.
It's a warm weather game.
It's like 90. It's 90 degrees. I mean, 90 degrees. Yeah. It's a warm weather game. There's no weather factors. There's no obstacle to stop the Eagles from absolutely dismantling a weaker Chiefs team right now. We'll see how the game plays out, but I have my money on the Eagles for this game.
Sorry, I have to ban somebody from the chat real quick.
Uh-oh.
We've made it. Okay.
You're getting spammed, baby. I love it.
We've made it. All right. So a pretty good slate of games, but before we get into the full board, let's do final countdown here. Anything major kind of stand out to you? Injury, weather, line shifts? There haven't been any major line shifts, but anything else you want to hit impacting the early games here?
Oh, if the Dolphins don't show me this week that that Tua is actually capable of managing a team, he needs to retire. They need to move on from him. They have weapons on offense that if you have a capable quarterback, you don't even have to have. You can have a game manager. You need to have a capable quarterback. They can still be a respectable offense, a respectable football team. But if Tua can't get it together, like the concussions are just, we know what the issue is here. Just let the man retire and sail off into the sunset. I'm sure he can take a boat right from Miami, right over to Cuba or Jamaica or anywhere he wants to go, the Bahamas, anywhere, and just enjoy the rest of his life. Don't keep putting this man in danger. Like, these NFL guys don't give a shit at all. They will rip his head off. So it's scary to me. This is and he's not playing against the strongest team too. I mean, you're playing against the Patriots. They're in a rebuild right now. They just lost to a Raiders team who I'm excited about seeing this season, and they're not a team that I would say is a playoff caliber team, but like they're going to be out there hungry and wanting to show that they are in a divisional game, that they are a team that can win that division. They want to compete. Everybody just assumes it's going to be the Bills, but they want to compete and they want to show that they're a solid team and that they're on the rise. So I think that this is a game where you have to show, if you're Tua, that you can manage a team. Other than that, it's everything else. The weather looks great everywhere. I think really for like the first time, the weather looks really good everywhere. We're not going to see any issues there, no storms or anything crazy like that this week. So, I mean, yeah, I'm excited.
Real bad weather, college football yesterday. There were a whole bunch of games delayed
for
a long time. Mm-hmm. The one I wanted to touch on is the 49ers. The disrespect for the Saints is through the roof. The 49ers lose their starting quarterback, and like the line shifted like half a point. Purdy out for an indeterminate amount of time. I don't know that it matters in this game against the Saints, but I'm going to be really curious to see what they do today from a game planning standpoint, because McCorkle Jones is now the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. But obviously you have really two starting NFL running backs in the backfield there, Christian McCaffrey and Robinson. So I'm just if McCaffrey is the McCaffrey of old, you don't have a problem here at all. But if he's the guy that kind of like intermittently comes in and out of games, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of offense they run, because there's a big difference between Purdy missing 2 weeks and Purdy missing 6 weeks. Mac Jones, I liked Mac Jones in New England. He is capable of beating the Saints. He is capable of righting the ship for a little bit. I don't know if he is capable of getting them 4 wins in 6 games. The schedule falls out kind of nice. They do have the Cardinals next week, and you got the Jags and the Rams after that. So like these are winnable-ish games, but what kind of offense are they going to run? What exactly are they going to do from an offensive standpoint? That's what I'm looking for today.
Hear me out. I say you go wingbacks, or you just go RPO with both those running backs and use check. and you just figure it out from there. Honestly, again, you have two running backs who are NFL caliber starting running backs. So either one of those guys at any point should be able to handle the ball. You still have Juszczyk, who is still a phenomenal fullback, a guy who can catch, who can block, who can run. He can do everything in your backfield. You can throw him out in the slot. Unfortunately, you are missing you're missing your tight end. So that you're missing Kittles, and he was a receiving tight end too. So you know that's going to be a detriment to their offense. But I think that realistically, with Valdez Scantling back there, with Juwan Jennings, who's still, I think he's questionable for the day, listed. I think realistically, you're going to have to be super creative, which is something that they've done for years. They've been a team that has been a creative offensive team. And so they just have to figure out ways to get the ball down the field with the talent that they have. I think honestly, you're going to see CMC lining up and in motion a lot if he's going to be your starter this week for a lot of passes. You need to get him in open space so he can show what he can do. I think that's going to actually be the best benefit to him. I think you're going to see Brian Robinson for more of the under center stuff. He's definitely not going to be as much in motion. And CMC's got great hands. He's got great footwork. And so if you can get him in space, you definitely have a better chance in this game. But the disrespect of the Saints, you're absolutely correct. At home, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't have the most faith in Spencer Rattler's ability to lead a team. As a Sooners fan, he's one of the least favorable quarterbacks as a Sooner that I could say. But at the end of the day, he's an NFL quarterback. You got to put some respect on his name. If he can keep his offense on the field and make the 49ers defense guess and make them tired and don't allow their offense to get any rhythm, then he's got the best chance to win this game. I see this game being a 17-15 or 17-20 game or something like that.
Gross.
Not a ton of scoring. You're going to see some stops, but you're going to see some field goals. They got to make their field goals at the end of the day. You're going to see some stops. You're going to see teams drive stalls. So it really comes down to not making mistakes. Same thing. Jones and Rattler just can't make mistakes for their offenses, and they got to be able to score when they get the opportunities.
Lowest total of the day, 40.5 points.
What I say?
All right, here's one for you. I want to hit on real quick. We'll do just like a little hot pot here. Over under 5.5 throws this season for Jameis Winston.
Over.
You think he gets in there?
Over 100%.
Okay,
I do.
Okay.
I have to believe the same way he believes. He gonna eat a W. All right. He gonna eat a W this. No, he is probably the most exciting quarterback to have in any huddle. He's just a great energy guy. And the fact that he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL when there's some weaker quarterbacks out there, in my opinion, I think that he still has the arm talent to be able to do so. I think obviously he's been inconsistent throughout his whole career, but I think a guy who can throw 30 touchdowns is a guy you should have, starting somewhere. Especially if you've got injuries to your starting quarterbacks, you bring this man in, you let him do his thing, you let him bring energy and bring life to a dead offense. Like, I'm definitely going to call it. He will start. I think he's going to start at least one game this season.
See, I think it takes two injuries. It takes an injury to Russell Wilson either way. But sure. I think the only way he gets through Jackson Dart is if the Giants have like 10 wins and they're in playoff position. Otherwise, I think Jackson Dart would also have to get hurt because the Giants are playing for nothing, essentially. The team sucks. So, if they have 3 wins and Jackson Dart's the guy because Russell Wilson's hurt, I don't know that there's a scenario where you bench Jackson Dart. But,
fair enough.
Yeah, Winston's a blast. Winston's a lot of fun.
Well, their offensive line is garbage, and it didn't get any better. So I can absolutely see both of Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart getting injured this season. Their running back game is atrocious. Like, it's just there's. like I'm sorry, but having one good wide receiver is not going to make any team ever. That's it. Offense can't be one good wide receiver. That's it. Like it's sad. It's sad because they had all the chances and opportunities to do something in the offseason to really bolster that. And everybody and their mom knows how bad their offensive line is. Everybody knows. Russ
Sean,
is
we're
not a
getting ahead of
guy
ourselves
anymore.
a little bit. The Vikings game is the Sunday night game.
I got excited. Sorry.
I saw an opportunity to throw shade at the Vikings.
Honestly, I will say this. I'm a believer in the Kevin O'Connell system right now.
All
It doesn't matter right
Let's
now.
get
I'm
into
a
this game.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Let's do it.
All right. I see you want to talk Bills Jets. Hit me with some Bills Jets.
I had this conversation with my younger brother earlier. When I look at these teams, I see parallels. I see that I think the Bills defense is still not good. They give up too many points. They just give up too many points. They give a ton of yards, but they give up too many points too. And the only reason why they stay in games is because of Josh Allen. That's it. But also, shout out to Chris Collinsworth for glazing hella hard. True. But shout out to Chris Collinsworth for being the world's greatest glazer of all time. Man runs for 50 yards, break 3 tackles, and he on a screen pass, and he says it was the quarterback who did it. You've got to be shitting me.
We were watching that game live, and it was like, I don't know if Collinsworth was drunk or not drunk. He was like having mood swings, man. He was crabby as hell in the first half. They come back from halftime, and he's like normal Chris. He's like laughing and making jokes and like being his normal self. I'm like, what? Something real weird was going on.
His mushrooms didn't kick in yet.
That's possible.
But honestly, the Bills' offense. I mean, it is Josh Allen, but the run game is good. They have a solid run game, and so that makes it a lot easier to get the ball to the receivers. The receivers are pretty sure-handed. They catch the ball when the ball gets thrown to them. I will say this: the Jets' defense gave up a lot of points last week, and the Bills' offense scores a lot of points. By comparison, though, the Bills' defense gives up a lot of yards, and the Jets looked pretty solid last week with the connection between Fields and Garrett Wilson. That a little bit of Ohio State connection right there. You got the run game doesn't look bad. And so their offense has the opportunity to be much better, much more significant in a divisional game, a game at home. I think that this game is going to be a lot tighter than people would realize. You look at last week's game and you look at for both teams and you say, oh, okay, honestly, both of these games, this game could be another barn burner. It could be another 30, 40. What's the over-under on this one? Was it like, it's got to be probably 50-something. 50-something, 60-something?
Sitting at 46.5.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's lower than what I would expect. Both these teams give up a lot of points, and both of these offenses have the ability to score. So I would put it probably somewhere at 60, but that's just me.
Yeah, we're gonna learn about the Jets, man. That's all I have to say on this one. We're gonna learn about this Jets team. They have a lot of potential, but the Bills are class of the AFC-ish, top 5 with no argument, right? So I think we're gonna kind of see where the Jets slot in, both in their development, but also in this division. The Dolphins suck, quite frankly.
Trash.
And the Patriots we're not really sure on, but if the Jets can be that 1B or 2, we might have a situation like we've had in the AFC North, where there's multiple teams that are dangerous, are playoff teams. But I think we learned it this week. I think we're going to know everything we need to know this week.
Agreed.
I wanted to touch Rams-Titans real quick. This is my excitement game of the week. I think the amount of splash plays that are going to be in this game is going to be through the roof. Chimere DK, who I'm still claiming for Wisconsin, they're going to let him actually run routes. So not only will there be explosive kickoff returns, but Ridley can be on the sideline betting on DraftKings, and DK can get some routes in. And then the Rams, Puka's obviously a really cool player to watch, and the Rams can move the ball really quickly. So I don't know that I'm super interested in this game, but I think like this is going to be the most like red zone break-ins. We're going to have like a ton of content from this game. I think this one
That's
might be a
fair.
barn burner.
That's fair. Honestly, you look at what Cam Ward can do with the ball, and I think it's an exciting thing for the Titans. I think that they've
Dude's
had
big.
some really poor. He is, but he's smart. He's a smart player. He's not throwing the ball away. He's making good reads. He's not making mistakes, and that's really what you want to see from your quarterback. And I just think that as they've had some really sad quarterback play from Mayo Boy back there, and in the last couple of years, and it's just I would not have put any stock in the redevelopment if they hadn't picked up Ward this season. And so I think that he's a really good candidate to kind of help bring this team around. Pollard's not a bad running back at all. And if you can get the two of them going, you can start to see that team really, really start moving forward in their progression.
Yeah, what you never want to hear from your fan base is stuff like, "Oh, I wish Tannehill was still here."
Honestly, that is sad to hear.
Jaguars Bengals. Are the Bengals worse on the whole than they were last year? Last year, obviously, a phenomenal offense and atrocious defense. One game, early returns, but really good on defense, ? And not so great on offense. What Bengals team are we getting here, Sean?
I think we're going to get a good offensive Bengals team. I have no faith in the Jaguars. I have no faith in their ability to manage the clock. I don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. I never have. I think that he was a quarterback who got so much hype coming out of college that he was this generational talent, and then he came out and has played flat after maybe we had 1.5 seasons that looked promising, but he's never been quite the quarterback for me. That's been a guy who I'm putting up there as like, a top tier quarterback. He's not been a top 10 quarterback. For me, he's been a mid to lower tier quarterback since he's come in the NFL, personal opinion. And I just think that people still keep looking and going, oh, well, maybe if we give him this one piece, maybe we give him this one piece, maybe we give him this one piece. And it's like, you do realize that if you keep all the pieces can be put together and it still doesn't mean anything. They have solid running backs. Big body. Etienne is a solid guy back there of speed. You've got Thomas over there now. You've got some skill players who can really, really be a benefit to this offense. The Bengals, on the other hand, they still are a team that can put up a lot of points. I'm just not sold on their defense. One game starting the season after how terrible they were last year. It just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I have to see more from them at mid-season. You come back and you tell me how good the Bengals defense is. Their offense, you still got monsters on offense. So we're going to see some.
7 yards in the second half against the Browns.
Yeah, against not a great. Bro, I could fall 7 yards. I fall 7 yards. Like that's literally that's one person's body length is 2 yards, bro. Like what are you doing? It makes no sense. So I think that realistically it's not indicative of how good their offense can really be. And I'm not gonna hold them to a week one against a divisional team. I will see how this game looks, and then we can, and at home especially, and then we'll give them a reevaluation next week. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a game where they can score
should
points.
Beat the tar out of the Jaguars.
They should. They should. Absolutely.
Bears and Lions. Man, this can go one of two ways. Either the Lions aren't as good as we think they are, or they are going to take out all of that frustration on this Bears team, and this is going to be ugly. I don't really see like a tightly contested game where the Bears have a shot to win it going away. Like either the Lions suck and the Bears will win this game starting in the first quarter, or the Lions are going to dominate wire to wire.
Detroit is going to be at home, which is a big deal. They're going to have the energy behind them. I'm not sold yet on Caleb Williams. I know people still want to give him time to develop. I can respect that. I can appreciate that. But eventually, he's going to have to be the guy to make smart decisions with the ball. He's going to have to be the guy to lead that team in score when they need to score. And so this Lions team last week, I thought that last week was not a one. I said last week that the Lions didn't need to win that game. It wasn't indicative of their full team's abilities last week. It really wasn't. It was the Packers game to win. This week, though, you cannot take on the Bears at home and not show up and not destroy them this week. You can't. If this is a tightly contested game, or if the Bears come out and control this game, it is looking really bad for the Lions. Like really bad. Like you start to say what's going on with your coaching, what's going on with your play calling, what's going on. Like some things got to give here if they don't come out here and just actually beat the shit out of the Bears.
The Bears faded real late. You know, their youth really showed. I thought their conditioning showed. They were mostly in control of that game in the first half. The second half felt a little different, but really kept the Vikings completely out of it until the fourth quarter. If that is a true narrative, and I'm not totally convinced it is, but if it is youth and conditioning, and the Vikings put 21 on you in the fourth quarter, a Lions team that is much better on paper, has much better skilled players outside of Justin Jefferson. Well, how many points will the Lions put up when you're tired in the fourth quarter?
Oh, Goff is going to have a field day.
If the Bears defense, in a game without a lot of their defensive secondary, they played really well against a rookie quarterback, but he's an NFL player. There's only 32 of those guys. Bears played well for three quarters. They really need to be that guy. I'm trying to find if any of those guys are back this week. But if the Bears defense can show up, you stop them on Raw, and the rest of it kind of trickles down. You go strength for strength, and they should be able to be in this game. But if it truly is like youth and conditioning issue, eventually the Lions will beat them deep. Eventually the Lions will get a lead and just be able to kind of work them down. I had the Lions winning this one.
I think everyone
doesn't
has the Lions
feel like enough.
6.5 is the line. Is it 6 now?
I'm not convinced that the Bears are capable of beating the Lions right now. And that's not to say that the Bears are good or bad. I just think the Lions are much further along in their evolution than the Bears are. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I don't think it gets you a win either.
It doesn't. Honestly, I'll say this before we go on. The Vikings coming back in that game, McCarthy came off of a championship and then got injured immediately. And so we never really got to see what he could do last year. He comes in this season. He comes off of basically he's just expected to be a game filler. But that system just works well. I think he's just perfect for that system. I think he is a guy who's going to fit in really well there and just continue to help keep that. Like I think the Vikings are in a great spot, unfortunately. They still can be. They're still going to be one of the top teams. I think that they're probably more of a 3 in their division now. I think the Packers moved up. I think it depends on what the Lions look like this year, but it should be Packers and Lions as a 1 and 2, with the Vikings probably being a 3. However, that McConnell system is just beautiful. It works. They play smart football. They control games really well. And that comeback against the Bears is more indicative of, again, I think it's the undisciplined Bears than it is about how great the Vikings necessarily are. So I'll give them a couple more weeks, see how well they play against some of the above 500 teams that have much better connections with each other, much more skill players that are actually, well versed in their offenses, and then see how they look. But I'm going to go ahead and say the Vikings win this game, at least -7. I'm going to say
Bears Lions, but Bears Lions.
Yeah. I'm saying the Lions. The Lions are going to win this game. The Lions are going to win the game against the Bears.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but there's a horse fight on the card. Broncos Colts. Bo Nix, if you watched this show last year, you know I'm a big Bo Nix guy. Oh boy, Bo didn't look great. The Colts can prove they're for real right here. This is still a good Broncos team. If the Colts win this game going away, I don't think Anthony Richardson ever plays another snap for the Colts.
With a healthy Daniel Jones, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It is sad to say that Daniel Jones wasn't as bad as the Giants made him be, but I guess that's what happens when nobody is there to block for you. Yeah, if we see a resurgence of Daniel Jones in Indianapolis, then we can say definitively that he may have been worth the money. He just was in the wrong team. And
I need him to
that's
stop
crazy to
stealing
say.
goal line touches. He needs to be a quarterback, not a running back. He's sinking me. I had JTT bets all up and down the board and 2 1-yard rushing touchdowns from Daniel Jones. Oh man. Trash.
He looked good.
Trash.
He looked good. He looked
Hand the
good.
ball
Honestly, both of these guys have the opportunity. Both quarterbacks. How many rushing touchdowns from quarterbacks do you see in this game?
Well, man, if he's going to steal, if you replace all my projection stats for JTT and just give him to Daniel Jones, I'd put that over under to 3.5. I'd probably take the over.
I can see that being the case. Definitely.
Sunday Night Football, Falcons Vikings. This one was really interesting to me as I was doing my my early week work. I circled the Falcons, big old circle here. The Vikings looked better in the second half, as we just kind of talked about with the Bears. But I like the Falcons here. I like the Falcons to win going away. Interesting quarterback battle here. Technically second-year guys. You get Penix and McCarthy head-to-head. Very different journeys, very different situations.
But both didn't start last season, so I mean, realistically,
yeah, I'm really
first-year
excited
quarterbacks, first-year starters
to see it. You know, a lot of weapons. You get Justin Jefferson, you get Bijan. This is going to be a good Sunday night game to cap off a pretty good Sunday slate. What do you got on Falcons Vikings?
Honestly, I am still excited about Michael Penix as a lefty. You know, I always got to give some love there. I think that they got to control the clock. If you let the Vikings kind of hang around for a while, you let them keep their confidence, you let that stadium get to you, then it could be a rough night for you. But I think that if you allow Bijan to get in space, you allow that offense to really start clicking, get the ball out there to the receivers when you have the opportunity to, and move the ball on third downs, then it's their game to win. I think that realistically, the Vikings defense is better than people realize still. But you know, their front four is gonna have to get pressure on Penix. If they can disrupt them. And then Bijan's gonna have to sit back there and block instead of being able to move around. And so that's gonna be probably what's gonna what'll be my factor of the game to really figure out who's gonna win this one.
Yeah, Bijan, a lot of fun to watch. This line sitting open 3.5 right now. It's holding 3.5, total 44.5. I'm excited to watch this one. Just from a fan standpoint, it's not very often I get to just like sit back and like enjoy a game. Just because of all the nonsense we have going on with this show with Club 602. So this is one I'm excited to just like kind of settle in for and see what happens, because these young teams, good teams, it should be cool. It should be a lot of fun to watch. I'm curious to see who wins the rushing battle. Mason's not a world beater by any means, but solid role player, runs hard. And Bijan's kind of more of that scat back from time to time instead of just that nose down runner. So I'm excited for this one. This one should be good.
I agree.
Double dose of Monday Night Football this week, and decent games.
Good games.
Decent games.
I think it's gonna be good. I think it'll be 2 good games. Something that people haven't really talked about, which I think you're gonna look at, is gonna be huge this season. Is look at Geno Smith's numbers when he's playing in a dome or a retractable roof. He is a 5.6 to 1 touchdown or score to turnover ratio. That is beautiful. Like that's about as good as you can get in the NFL. And so I think that this is his time. He's got a great coach in Pete Carroll up there. As you can see, he's got Brock Bowers, sure-handed tight end. He's able to get the ball to the receivers. They don't have to be Pro Bowl wide receivers in order to be able to get the scores that they need. And Genty, my favorite thing about him is the man picks up a block beautifully. One thing that anybody you can say about him is that he shies away from contact. He does it on the offensive side when he's pounding people, pause, and he does it when he's also blocking for his quarterback. So I expect that this is going to be a fun game to watch. And the offensive line for me for the Texans is just going to have to show up this week. Realistically, they just have to protect their quarterback. They have so many good guys on the offensive side of the ball that can move the ball down the field with CJ Stroud at quarterback that, they have the opportunity really here at home to really show that they are that premier team in the South. But the Bucks. I mean, Baker Mayfield, shout out Oklahoma OU. Let's go. Came into Philly, destroyed this week, but Baker Mayfield, he's gonna score. He's gonna move the ball down the field, and so the Texans defense obviously is gonna have to stop him. They're gonna have to manage the clock on offense and on defense. Keep him off the field. Keep him from getting excited, because once he's excited, once his head's down, it's a fun game to watch. So I'm excited for that game as well.
Yeah, they're both great games on paper. I think I'm as a non fan of any of these teams. I think I'm more excited, at least in concept, for Bucks Texans. I am a noted Texans hater. I love the Bucks. I love the young kids on this Bucks team. Bucky Irving's a lot of fun to watch. And Mika came on out of nowhere. If you watch football, you knew that Mika was coming. But what a coming out party for him! Week 1 NFL. The defense is great. Dennis and David and Reddick in the defensive back there. I'm excited for this game. I think the Bucks are better. I think the Bucks probably win. Houston's favored in this one. I didn't see enough from them in week 1 to really get behind them. I think the Buccaneers win this game. I think the strength of Baker Mayfield is that focus that he has near the end of the game. They're never out of it. Baker could be down 3 scores. He's going to continue playing like it's 0-0 and just get out there and do his job. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for this one. This is the early game, 4 p.m. Arizona kick. I love that these games aren't stacked. I hate when there's a 6:30 and a 7, and you can't give your full attention to either game. These are stacked out. So the Chargers-Raiders won't start until after this one's done. So nightcap, last game of the week, Chargers-Raiders. I mean, you touched on most of the major points there. This is for first place in the division. I mean, it's early in the season, right? These are undefeated teams. The winner's going to be 2-0 and at the top of the division. So I'm excited for the potential, because I think a Raiders team that doesn't have the weight of the world on them because they're bad and they have a bunch of losses stacking up, I think that version of the Raiders is a much better organizational fit for the players that they have. So I think playing from a position of wins, shocking, right? If playing from a position of wins is better than playing from a position of losses. But I think it's really important for this Raiders team to develop, because Geno, as a captain, as a leader, can only do so much with all these young kids. Same thing on the defensive side of the ball. You have good veteran leaders and then a shit ton of kids. So I think if they can continue winning games, and this game against the Chargers, they're certainly capable of winning. Chargers are probably better, but if the Raiders won, I wouldn't be like blown away by it. I'd be like, okay, well, I can point to these 4 reasons why the Raiders really performed. And I think a 2-0 Raiders team can become a 3-0 Raiders team. And I think that puts those kids in a position where they're not rookies. They're not young players, right? You're an NFL team. You're a cohesive unit. And I think a 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 Raiders team is very different end of season facing than one that comes into week 6, 2, and 3. And I think you can hyper develop this roster if you can get some of these wins early. So I'll be on the Chargers. but I'll be cheering for the Raiders because I think it's a really exciting young team. And they're one of those organizations where the NFL is better when the Raiders are good.
I like
It
the way that sounds. I like
drives
it. I like
engagement.
it.
It drives everything. And having them in Vegas, it's a beautiful stadium. I want more Raiders primetime games. I want to see these guys play.
I agree. I
So
agree.
money on the Chargers, but hey, let's go Raiders. Let's go Raiders.
I like it. I have been to the stadium. It is an absolutely beautiful stadium. I've been on the field, got to touch the Super Bowl grass. And at the end of the day, I think that it really comes down to not the leadership in the front office now looks really good. The Raiders have had a history of just kind of throwing coaches around every which way and not really knowing what to do. And it's been really tumultuous in the last couple seasons. You know, the issues with Devontae, what happened with Carr, the Khalil Mack trade, like it, you know, all of those things just do not breed the Antonio Pierce, the Tom Flores, like you just keep going and going and going. And so you really just saw so much turmoil in the organization. I think right now Pete Carroll has it stabilized. I think they are focused on playing good football. They have good veteran leadership. Crosby has anchored that defense. He is by far one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Totality. He's a guy who gets around the edge. He gets that defense going. And for me, it's always been their secondary that's been their weakest point in their defense. We've seen that for years, and they've had some good pass rushers, but they've just had not great secondary players. When the Raiders secondary performs, and Pete Carroll is a master when it comes to managing a good secondary. I mean, you look what he did with Seattle with that Legion of Boom up there. That was the perfect scenario for him to come down here and do, is to give that same hard nose, like just strong defensive minded starting with the secondary and building your defense inwards. Like that mindset is just something that they needed. And so now seeing it in the Chargers, you know, bringing back Keenan Allen, a sure-handed receiver. Their run game looks like it's going to be just great this year. They have really good things to look at as well, and so it's going to be a fun game. Honestly, if this game was a barn burner, I would not be surprised at all. I could see this game being a 25-30 game or something, 30-30, 32 game or something like that, because I can see that these offenses are looking better. But if it was also a 17-20 game, I could also see that if the defenses really start to hunker down and really show that they show their grit. So I'm just excited for it as well. It's going to be a great game. And not having the game stacked on Monday is beautiful, especially in Arizona, where you don't have to be up till midnight to watch football. So it's going to be fun. Nice. It's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a fun week.
All right, that's the week 2 slate. Pretty good set of games. Make sure that you are making your picks on Chainlink. We have NFL Pick'em week to week, season long, as well as just the normal Chainlink game. Make sure you're playing on there. You'll see Eagles and Chiefs all lit up. Oh, I got to do that, actually. I got to mark that game of the week in the app. So get over there to Chainlink. Check out Phantom Odds. Thank you, Phantom Odds, for your support this year. We really appreciate it. Sean, we're under 60 minutes.
I know, beautiful. Honestly, I want to just touch on 2 things. One, probably my trash bin. I got the Cardinals taking this game against the Panthers. Cardinals starting off the season 2-0. Great look for them. Keep the team focused. Keep the Call of Duty out of the way. And I'm excited for them. And then Ravens should beat the shit out of the Browns. That's it. They should. They're angry. They should be very angry this week.
Very angry. On Colts money line, and I'm going to go ahead and lay the 5.5 with the Bills.
I like it. Yeah, I'm going to take Bengals spread, and I'll take Cardinals to win.
All right, and that'll be up on socials shortly here, so watch out for that as well. I think that's all we got.
Beautiful. I love
Thanks for joining us, yelling and screaming. We will see you again Sunday morning. Get your picks in, check your lineups, make your bets, get on Chainlink. Sunday, kickoff's coming, guys.
Have a good week, you guys. Enjoy it. Enjoy today. It's going to be a great day of football.
Every Sunday with football is a great Sunday. Peace out, everybody.
That's true.